I love the state of Tennessee. I love everything about it, and I love hunting and fishing in the state of Tennessee, and what you guys do is so great. I was born and raised here, and this song is for Tennessee and everybody in it. So won't you take me back to Tennessee, where southern streams are flowing free. Me and mine, Lord, will always be right at home in Tennessee, right at home in the woods of Tennessee, right at home in Tennessee. Awesome.
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a fun show for you today, Don.
Big time
I'm
fun.
excited.
Yeah, we're going to go on the musical side of the outdoors again.
Yeah, a little campfire session.
Yeah, I like that.
A little
I
music,
like that.
a little outdoors.
A little session, music session. Yeah, I got it.
Perfect.
I got it.
Perfect. I'm excited. Good friend of mine, Chris Hennessee, is with us today, and we've been trying to get him in here for a while. At least we've been talking about it.
I know.
I hit him up, and he's like, "Sure, I'll be there."
I've been hearing about him for years, so glad to finally meet him.
Oh,
today.
man, it's such a blessing to be here. I
All
appreciate
right.
you guys having me. Absolutely.
You bet.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. But first, Don, you'd like to highlight us a radio station.
Yeah. We are on about, over 30 radio stations now across the state, and one of them is the one we'll highlight this week is WMC in the Memphis area. It's an ESPN station now, and for years, when I was on the road doing music, Chris, WMC was a Billboard reporting country music station.
Wow, okay.
So we've come a long way. But anyway, we're on Saturday mornings at 7:30. We follow Larry Ray's show there every Saturday morning. So anyway, we appreciate them a bunch.
Yep. As we say often, we appreciate our radio partners. Couldn't do it without them.
Oh, that's right.
And thank you for tuning us in on the app, your favorite podcasting app, or finding us on YouTube, or however you find us. We appreciate you tuning us in.
You bet.
Chris, man, it's good to have you.
Man, it's great to be here. Hey, listen, that background track sounded good, guys, especially the drums and guitar on that, sound really good.
Thank you.
Little promotion there.
Yeah. A little hard work went into that one. It was fun.
Yeah, good.
Good stuff. Yeah, so Chris and I grew up in Decatur. Decatur, Tennessee, and it's just good to have him in studio to talk outdoors and hunting and fishing. He loves to do that sort of thing, and music brought him to Nashville, and let's just jump right in. Tell the folks a little bit about yourself and kind of
Absolutely.
how you got where you are today.
Well, like you said, both of us from Decatur, Tennessee, and I always have to say Tennessee because if you say Decatur, you're going to get Alabama, Georgia, Illinois, you get all of them.
Decatur County.
Yep, that's right, Decaturville. But yeah, Decatur, East Tennessee, Southeast Tennessee. Grew up there, and went to school there. Went to school in Maryville, East Tennessee, and ended up in Nashville, '98. And been here ever since, picking and grinning.
Yeah.
Y'all,
you've got a family now and settled here and doing it full time. Yeah.
Yep, we're up in Sumner County, and kids go to school there, and we hunt a little bit there, and of course, we hunt all over the state. So, yeah,
good deal.
Awesome. So, you kind of, when you got here, you're working your way through the ranks and whatever, and then you ran into Jamie Johnson. Right?
Yeah, I can tell you that story. So I guess to make a long story short, when you're, and Don, you know this, when you're coming through Music Row, there's sort of like there's your class. It might not all be people your same age, but it's generally people that came to town in the general same time, and kind of moved up the ranks together.
Yeah.
So in about 2000, I was playing the honky tonks down Lower Broadway. And it was a little different scene back then.
I tell people, back then when folks played there, a lot of times you didn't share that with many people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you have to be careful.
Now you do. It's big time now.
Well, there's never a dull moment down there now, from what I can tell. But I can tell you this quick story. We used to play Robert's Western World down there, and there's the big glass right behind the stage. And it would be middle of the winter, 10 to 2 a.m. shift, and there would be us and the bartenders, and that's it in the whole place. And it would be freezing cold at night, and I would just look out the window, and when I saw a couple of people coming, I'd 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'd start playing the song, and when they went past the door, we'd just stop, It's like, well, what's the use? But, you can't run people out of there now. There are people everywhere down there.
It's crazy.
So, to carry on the story, I was playing, I think it might have been Tootsie's or somewhere down there, and this young fella walked up and said, "You mind if I sit in?" And I'm like, "Go ahead, buddy, come on," And man, he was great. He sung some wailing or whatever, and I'm like, "Do another one." Heck, he took half the shift before it was over with. Anyways, he and I would just be running into each other just constantly. It was him and Randy Hauser and Jared Neiman and Dirks was there was a time down there where Dirks was playing next door and Joe Nichols was playing across the street, and we were all playing the same shift every night. So, anyways, there was a lot of that going on. So Jamie and I became friends, and then of course he hit it pretty good, and about 5-6 years into his career, we ran into each other at a gathering, and he said, "You need to come open shows for me," and I said, "Absolutely, let's do it." Well, that turned into a lot of shows, and that turned into touring for 12 years,
Wow.
And I'll never forget the first gig I did with him as an official band member was we were in Hershey, Pennsylvania at Farm Aid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I walk out there, and I just played harmonica at the time, and I walked out there with my harmonica and looked out at all those people, and I'm like, Lord, what have I got myself into? And the next night we were on Letterman or something like that, so it was crazy,
nice.
trial by fire. So, but it's been a fun run,
Awesome.
Good
Awesome.
deal.
Well, let's get started with some music.
Yeah.
We're already past our 4.5 minute mark, Don.
That's all right.
But that's okay. A new song you got out.
I do. Well, I'm actually going to put this out next month. I just released a single last week called God Made Her Wild, and I really wanted to play this one today. I don't know. Just I wrote this song with my granddad in mind. It's called Common Sense. My granddad was born in 1934. Seems to me they don't make them like that anymore. He was tougher than a leather glove, put his faith in God above, and an old Ford truck. He set me down the day I turned 17. He said, "The whole world's going crazy, boy, beats all I've ever seen. The price of gas is through the roof. You can't trust what's on the news. You need a lot more than luck." It's been 10 years since he passed away, but I can still hear him say, "Love the Lord with all your heart. If you can't be where you want, be happy where you are. And don't go to fight unless you know what you're fighting for. Common sense ain't that common anymore. Common sense ain't that common anymore." He said, "Don't believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. Remember all the ones that died. Freedom don't come free. A boy grows up to be a man. Every child is part of God's plan. They ought to get a chance. And a hard day's work, Lord, it's good for you, but don't get in over your boots. And love the Lord with all your heart. If you can't be where you want, be happy where you are. And don't go to fight unless you know what you're fighting for. Common sense ain't that common anymore. Lord, common sense ain't that common anymore. Now I got 2 kids of my own. Before I know it, they'll be up and grown. But I don't worry about who they'll be and where they'll go, 'cause I know they know. You gotta love the Lord with all your heart and do unto others. Now that's the place to start. And don't go to fighting unless you know what you're fighting for. Common sense ain't that common anymore. Oh, common sense ain't that common anymore.
Nice.
Amen. Speaking the truth there. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I try to.
Yeah. Man.
That's awesome. I can picture your grandpa and all that stuff. It's just the imagery that puts out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, good segue, because we'll talk about my granddad, and I'll tell you about the first times I went hunting.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I mean, growing up in Decatur, everybody hunts and fishes.
Yeah.
And your grandpa was a big part of that.
He was a great Tennessean, as your grandpa was too, and your dad and your whole family. But he really was, and I remember going quail hunting with him constantly. And it's kind of funny. Bless his heart, he'd be like, "I'll come pick you up before daylight," and I'm like, "Wait a minute, before daylight?" But anyways, I will never forget, and I hope that everybody listening to this thinks about this, because man, your kids are paying so much attention when they're this age. But I bet you I was 9 years old, and we were behind Shaw Industries down there in this old, thicket, and we kicked up a covey of quail, and I shot once, and then they flew over the hill, and no birds fell. He said, "Why didn't you shoot again?" I said, "Well, they were gone before I could pull the trigger the second time." The quail are fast. They're not that fast, though. I can pull the trigger quicker than that now. But anyways, we hunted a lot back then, quail. And I'll tell this one other story just quick as I can.
Yeah, go.
So my nephew, Matthew, he was just a little fella, could just barely talk. He could get Chris or Papaw out, and that was about it. Well, we were going to take the dogs out one day and try to find a covey, and Granny said, "Now don't you take him and start shooting guns around him. He's just little." "Oh, don't worry, Granny, we won't do it."
Yeah, right.
So we pulled up, and I didn't even know if we had a gun, in the truck. Yeah, it was up to Papaw. And sure enough, boy, them dogs pointed right there. And now Matthew's going to stay in the truck. And Chris, you get the gun. I said, "Gun? We're not supposed to be shooting, Papaw. Get the gun and get out. And if you get one up, just go ahead and shoot it." Well, I kicked it up, bow, shot it. I don't know. I forget the rest of that story. Anyways, we got home that afternoon, and Granny says, "Matthew, did you have fun?" "Oh, yes." "Well, how was the trip?" He said, "Chris, bird dog, gun, boom." We were all in trouble that night. But we spent a lot of time quail hunting. So.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't realize this until we started chatting, but pheasant hunting was big for your granddad too, right?
It was, yeah. He started with Raymond Bivens which you would know that family, back in the 70s, going to South Dakota to other side of Sioux Falls and pheasant hunting. They'd go every year. So when I got old enough, my cousin, he'd start taking us and and my uncle and my dad. So we, every October would go to South Dakota and pheasant hunt. So now, Papaw's gone, but we still go.
That's
and
awesome.
Still keep in touch with the same family. And, we'd stay in their basement and the whole deal,
Yeah.
But my kids go now. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Keeping the traditions alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so growing up, or once you got to Nashville and playing music, you traveled a lot. Did you do a lot of hunting on the road, or?
We didn't do a whole lot. It's difficult because we'd show up somewhere that morning and do the show that night and leave. So but we fished a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
We did do a lot of fishing, whether it was trout or. I always took my rod and reel. We bass fished different places, But we didn't get to hunt a lot. But I made a lot of connections that after this touring season was over, we would, do some hunting and stuff. But I always spend, when it comes to big game and stuff, I'm a Tennessee guy, I grew up whitetail hunting, and that's what I continue to do now,
Nice.
with most of my fall and winter anyway.
Yeah. So how do you prepare for this fall? I mean, it's here. It's football season. It's deer season.
Yeah.
How are you getting ready?
Well,
are you just pulling the gun out of the closet?
That's
and go?
it. Yeah. It's tricky for me because touring has always made it difficult to, do a lot of, fixing the food plots and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so the good news is, as a musician and as a, singer, artist or whatever, made a lot of connections through the years. And I've got some buddies around the state that are like, come on down and hunt. Mm-hmm. So we got a place in Wayne County that we hunt a lot. My buddy Kyle Helton's a sheriff down in Giles County, and we go down to his property and hunt a lot. So whether it's turkey or deer, we're pretty well covered as far as that's concerned. But it is that time of year, and especially a day like this. I mean, I know this will come out later, but it's like, man, it's cool
It's
today.
getting cooled off.
Yeah, and it's rainy, and the leaves are starting to fall a little bit, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's kicking into gear now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. The music is opening those doors.
It does.
For those hunting opportunities.
It
too.
sure does, absolutely.
Fishing too, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's good that you got your buddies that'll let you come down and hunt.
Oh, yeah.
It is, yeah. Well, we might have to pick a song or two for them every once in a while, but but man, my kids load up and go with me,
definitely.
and it's just great. It really is.
That's very cool. Very cool.
I don't really think that, when it comes to deer and turkey and the such. My day is kind of come and went, and now it's all about the boys,
Yeah.
So that's what I just focus on, getting them in front of something and getting it on the ground.
Yeah.
How old are they now?
9 and 11.
9 and 11. Okay.
Well, you're right there in the same boat I'm in.
Yeah.
They are, yeah. Well, 8. He's almost 9, and he's almost 12 actually. So we're right there. But they love it, and took them dove hunting last week, and
Perfect.
Yeah, which actually worked out good. It's a funny story there too. I went 2 weekends. I went last weekend and this weekend. I took them the first weekend, and it was great because I didn't have to pick up any empty shells or any birds. And I didn't take them this weekend. Man, I was working myself to death, picking up shells and birds and all this stuff. So, anyways, we have a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. So, one last question on hunting. You got deer, and you got one in your sights for this year? Or
This
I guess
year,
not,
this
maybe.
year I don't. I haven't had a chance to really set up anything. But again, I go back to the kid thing where I'm like, man, we go out and kill some does, and we process the whole thing at the house and put
Very
them in
cool.
the freezer.
Yeah,
So
show them how it's done.
that's what we're thinking on now. And I always tell them, hey man, if a 12-pointer walks out, let's get him. But if not, we'll take a doe and not think twice about it. So
Well, I let a decent 8 walk last year, thinking that get my son on it. You know, my daughter was with me, and I was like, "We're gonna let this one go." And she's like, "Why didn't you shoot that?"
yeah, why?
It's like I want to let Tucker shoot it, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna do another song and maybe 2 other songs. You want to go ahead and Twilight, Twilight from the South, or
Yeah,
of the
Twilight
South?
in the South. So I'll tell you this, and it's kind of interesting that we're talking about it today because this was the title track off a record I did a couple years ago. And so, again, I'm tell a lot of stories, but when I first wrote this song, it's probably about 15 years ago. And, and as you know, Don, when you write a song, you demo it,
Yeah.
So back in those days when we were demoing our songs, I wrote it with a guy named Chris Dubois, who's a big hunter, Tennessee guy. We were looking for somebody to sing the demo, so Chris Stapleton was singing demos at the time. So I've, for the last 10 years, been listening to Stapleton sing this song. and my wife has too, and she goes, that's your best song you got right there. And I said, is it because Chris Stapleton's singing it? But the reason that I'm saying this is a good setting to play this song is that when I wrote this song with Chris, my thought was all about my grandparents' back porch on Highway 58.
Okay, yeah.
Looking over at your grandparents' house over there across
Exactly.
the creek. So that's where this is in my mind. An old man's on the tractor with his headlights on, trying to cut the pasture for the daylight's gone. Woman in the kitchen, you can hear her sing. Smell that fried chicken through the window screen. You can smell that fried chicken through the screen. Well, the sun's going down lightning bugs are out. There's just something about twilight in the south. Well, you can see the whitetail peeking through the tall pine trees. Smell that honeysuckle in the early evening breeze. Me, I've been out working in the sun all day, so I'm hitching up the John boat to that old Chevrolet. I'm gonna stop and grab a six-pack on the way. Well, the windows are down, June bugs are out. There's just something about twilight in the south. Way down around where Tennessee turns into Alabama, when summer days turn into summer nights. Well, there's a honey hole a mile below that Chickamauga Dam, where I guarantee the fish are gonna bite. And I guarantee that's where I'll be tonight. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When that sun's going down and the lightning bugs are out, there's just something about twilight in the south. There's just something about twilight in the south. You know, that's that magic time, right? Yeah. When the fish are biting and the deer are coming out the grave.
Yeah. That's great. That's awesome. I can picture that, just like you said. It's right there in our backyard.
Yeah, right on, man.
Speaking of Chickamauga, man, state record smallmouth came out of, or largemouth out of Chickamauga. So
yeah, right, like back
right
in the day,
down
right?
our back door. Yeah,
yeah, that was a fellow, wasn't it King?
Mr. Gabe King.
Yeah, Gabe King. Yeah, I know his dad well. Yeah,
growing up right there in that area, and just knowing that the big fish are coming out of that water, that's pretty cool.
Right, man. I'm telling you, yeah, we've spent a lot of time fishing, especially catfishing right down through there in the river, and never know what you're going to pull up out of that water. So, big old cat.
Yeah. So we're going to get another song in before we have to close out the show. But faux fishing, this is a good time of year to go, cooling off.
Yeah.
Not just hunting, fishing's a good time right now as well.
It is. It's great. And man, I tell you what, we've talked to my son a little bit, the older son, about joining the bass team and that kind of stuff. And there's some great stuff going on in the state as far as, youth fishing and the high school and the middle schools and even younger that getting into that stuff. And wow, I mean, hats off to the state for doing what they're doing with that. It's really great.
Yeah. One of our guys, David Lowry, he's, volunteers and heads up that Tennessee Bass Nation.
Yeah.
Series, and it's great for the kids.
It really is. Yeah. It's great. And but yes, it's that time of year, and what I love about this time of year is topwater. I love buzz baits. It's my favorite thing in the world to fish with, and when they start hitting that topwater stuff, I mean, that's what it's all about right there. I love it.
Get your heart pounded.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. And I could tell stories about that too, but I won't do that.
Yeah. And then the creek fishing too. It's a good time to get out and wade those creeks. I always say that, but that's my favorite.
Well, again, now you know this Sioux Creek back home.
Yep.
We used to go down in there, and it was. We were always say when the dogwoods start blooming, when they start running,
start running,
and that's some of my favorite fishing I ever did. Whether we were wading or we'd take old boat, canoes and stuff up through there. And I might have had to go see your granddad a time or two because I missed school a few times to go fishing.
Yep.
But anyways, I do not recommend doing that. Don't miss any days of school.
No.
But if you get an off day, go fishing.
Go fishing.
Yeah.
Sioux Creek was a fun place. For those folks that live down that area, you got to go check out Sioux Creek.
You do.
It's a fun creek to fish.
Great.
Me and my brother-in-law put a paddle boat on top of a Ford Festiva.
Oh yeah.
Strapped it on top, went and dropped it in the water, and had a good time one day.
That's great. That's one of the only places I know of that there's more rooster tails in the trees than there are in the water.
Oh man.
And that was the bait too.
That was
the bait.
Yeah. White. You can't use the yellow one though. You got to use a white one.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Rapala or rooster tail. That's all you can use.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So we don't run out of time. You got one more song you wanted to do back to Tennessee.
I
right?
do. That's right. Yeah. And this song was on that same record. And the reason I told you guys earlier before we got started that I wanted to play this one is because I'm lobbying for this to be the new TWRA theme song.
All right.
here.
Okay.
So whoever we got to pass this along to.
Don't mess it up then. That's
Right. Oh, man. The pressure's on. The pressure's on. But I will say this before I play it. I love the state of Tennessee. I love it. I love everything about it. And I love hunting and fishing in the state of Tennessee. And what you guys do, even with this thing right here, is just, it's so great. You're doing such a great thing, and the state does a great job. We could talk a whole nother podcast about that stuff.
Yeah.
But I love my home state. I was born and raised here, and this song is for Tennessee and everybody in it. I have roamed across the land, and I have sailed the deepest sea. When I've drawn my last breath, do this one thing for me. Say, won't you take me back to Tennessee, where southern streams are flowing free? Me and mine will always be right at home in Tennessee. Scarlet hills and big orange skies, snow-capped mountains full of songs, the winding rivers call to me. Should I stray too long, it wants to take me back to Tennessee, where southern streams are flowing free. Me and mine, Lord, will always be right at home in Tennessee, right at home in the woods of Tennessee, right at home in Tennessee.
Awesome.
Really good.
I think that could work, Don. What do you think?
Yeah,
All right.
I'm loving it.
See what we can do.
I'm loving it.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great show. Chris, I appreciate it so much. We'll have to do it again.
Absolutely. Let's do it again.
When your last name rhymes with Tennessee,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
only fitting. You know?
Yeah, Chris Hennessee from Tennessee.
Absolutely.
Glad you've been here. Glad you could stop by and chat, and good catching up.
Good catching up with you guys.
Yeah.
Great show, guys. We really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate you and look forward to next time.
All right. Thank you.
we'll do it again. This is Tennessee WildCast. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for liking, for listening, for following us. Just keep coming back, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.